Scott Watson was found guilty beyond reasonable doubt of murdering Ben Smart and Olivia Hope. Now, certain people believe they saw Ben and Olivia on a Ketch and not Scott Watson's sloop. Hello, I'm Susan Wood. Welcome to Close Up. "18 months ago, the Privy Council dismissed an application for an appeal by convicted double murderer Scott Watson. Watson was found guilty beyond reasonable doubt of murdering Ben Smart and Olivia Hope in the Marlborough Sounds on New Year's Day in 1998. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a non-parole period of 17 years. Now, the Privy Council based its decision on the absence of any overwhelming evidence clearing Watson. His defence lawyers based their case on the claims of a water taxi driver who said he'd dropped Ben and Olivia and an unidentified man onto a Ketch. A Ketch that's very existence the trial judge directed the jury to be cautious about. Well, tonight, more than 7 years on, certain people believe they did see Ben and Olivia on a Ketch and in Picton days afterwards. This from investigative reporter Brent Fraser.
Stephen McClellan is a self-confessed conservationist, an alternative lifestyler and a man convinced that the young woman he saw on the 6th of January more than 7 years ago was Olivia Hope on board a Ketch.
You're absolutely sure of that?
I'm positive it was Olivia. Well, I could say 99.99 because it was always that. You know, I could be wrong, but I doubt it.
Minded by Scarlett.
It was this home video that convinced him.
The woman I saw in the yacht and the woman I saw later on TV where they showed a home video of Olivia playing the piano, the woman I saw on the video, she had her hair tied back and she had this look of concentration on her face. It was the same woman, same girl.
For several weeks, police issued this sketch of a two-masted Ketch. They wanted to hear from anyone who had seen it. But in the end, police discounted any sightings and eventually said there was no Ketch linked to their investigation. McClellan claims there were at least 2 males on board the Ketch.
All I saw was this black hair. You know, the guy that walked up onto the front deck, he was sort of stocky of stature, strong build, about my age, salt and pepper grey hair coming through red hair, that real orange hair. The guy in the back, he had this really black, shoulder-length, shiny, wavy hair. It looked like a wave in the back of it.
He says the man at the back appeared to be looking over the woman, who he says was Olivia. Steve, what did you do with this information?
I immediately, straight away, went into Havelock to talk to the local police and tell them what I had to say. As soon as I got to the point I have seen a Ketch that matches the description of the one in the paper, she went, "No, stop there, there's no need to go any further. We've got our man, we're not looking for this information any further," and pretty well just hung up on me.
So you didn't get to tell her about Olivia?
No.
Steve McClellan isn't the only one who claims seeing either Olivia or Ben after that fateful New Year's Eve. A former school friend of Olivia Hope, a young woman who also played on the basketball team with her, told police that she had seen Ben and Olivia here in Picton just hours after they went missing in Furno Lodge. She said they were there with 2 Māori men, a Māori woman and a rough-looking Caucasian man. She also said that Olivia looked very frightened and sad, and when she recognised the school friend, she said to her, "Can you help me?" The school friend said she was too frightened to help her. In a statement to the police, she also said that she overheard one of the men saying, "What will we do with them?" She said at the time she had been drinking a lot, she was slightly confused, but the one thing she said she is sure of is that she saw Olivia Hope. At the time of her statement to police, the former school friend told them it was Thursday the 1st of January she saw Ben and Olivia. But now, 7 years on, she says it could well have been Saturday the 3rd of January. She says back when it happened, she was probably still in shock. A day earlier, police witnesses, Ted and Yvonne Welsh, say they too saw Olivia Hope and Ben Smart.
Never since have I had any doubt that Olivia was alive and well
the 2nd of January when I saw her go past.
I remember it distinctly by 2 big masks. Distinctive looking boat. Came in very late. 10:30, I suppose. It's darkish. I don't know what time it went. It could have been early hours in the morning, but it was definitely there.
Did you ever see it on another occasion?
On the 2nd.
2nd of January?
Yes, it went past us when we were out fishing on our boat. Within 50 metres of it. It was quite a big swell and it was going up and down.
You sure it's the same one?
I'm absolutely positive. I made the comment of it looked like a Chinese junk going past. Everybody laughed, yeah.
How can you be so convinced it was Ben and Olivia on that boat?
Well, even after all this time, you live it every week probably. Something comes into your mind, somebody brings something up, and I knew it then. I knew it when I saw the picture of Olivia dressed the way she was dressed and her hair colour, the hair colour that it was on New Year's Eve. It was instant. That was the girl on the boat.
No doubt about that at all?
No doubt about it. None at all. That was definitely Olivia Hope sitting on the back of that boat on the 2nd of January.
So basically the police have told you you didn't see Olivia, you didn't see Ben, and you definitely didn't see a Ketch.
That was pretty much the Crown Prosecutor summing up in court and on national TV, yes.
So 21 hours of interviews thinking you were helping the police, then only to be called a liar.
The whole time that I was there, after the 7th of January, every interview that I had was purely and simply to discredit the theory of the Ketch.
While the description of the so-called mystery Ketch differed slightly with some of the people I interviewed, none described a sloop like Scott Watson's boat. Now doing 17 years behind bars, part of the police evidence against Watson included 2 blonde hairs found on a blanket in his boat blade. It was concluded that one of the hairs was 28,000 times more likely to be Olivia Hope's than any other blonde New Zealand woman. There were also more than 200 brown hairs found on board his boat. In the last few days, Television New Zealand has found out that police apologised to Ben Smart's family, saying they didn't have enough money to carry out DNA analysis on those brown hairs to find out if one of them could have been Ben Smart's.
Well, the head of the police inquiry at the time, Superintendent Rob Pope, says the initial information about the Ketch was not substantiated. In particular, he said it was firmly established that a sloop, not a Ketch, was involved in the disappearance of Ben and Olivia. In regards to the brown hairs that Brent talked about there in the sloop, Rob Pope says that all relevant forensic evidence was placed before the court. So tomorrow our investigation continues with more people claiming to have seen a Ketch, plus we have its movements around New Zealand. The disappearance of Ben Smart and Olivia Hope was a tragedy that gripped the country. 7.5 years on, the way the police conducted their inquiry is still hotly debated. Last night, Close Up brought you fresh claims that Ben and Olivia were still alive several days after police maintained they'd been murdered on New Year's Day 1998. Tonight we investigate the so-called mystery Ketch. It was a vessel police originally thought was a key part of the case, but was then cast aside in favour of a sloop owned by Scott Watson. Eventually Watson was arrested, charged and found guilty of murdering Ben and Olivia. He is now serving life in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years. Brent Fraser with the second part of his investigation.
The debate over the 2-masted Ketch versus the 1-masted sloop has dogged the disappearance of Ben Smart and Olivia Hope. Scott Watson owned a sloop, but to this day other witnesses continue to argue that they saw a Ketch.
The descriptions that we've been given by many witnesses of the Ketch that they saw completely identical in most respects to the Ketch drawn by the police artist. We're convinced it's one and the same vessel.
9 months. For 9 months, retired Auckland engineer Warwick Jennis has worked on a theory that the Ketch existed, even though he wasn't at Furno Lodge the night Ben and Olivia went missing 7 years ago. He's so convinced he's tracked its movements. Now Warwick Jennis believes his information could break new ground.
If we could prove that there was a Ketch, at Furneaux Lodge in Endeavour Inlet that night and the next morning of January the 1st, 1998, then the case against Scott Watson really didn't have a great deal of validity in our minds. You've got to remember that Scott Watson's boat was rafted up against 2 other boats, and on those boats were 11 other people. Scott Watson was effectively only a few feet away from 11 other witnesses to his actions and presence on his boat.
He says that would be like living on a waterbed, and any other movement would be transmitted to the other 2 boats Scott's boat was rafted to. Warwick Jennis claims to have tracked the movements of a mystery ketch for a week in the Marlborough Sounds, from Furneaux Lodge into Cook Strait and then into Marpua, where it was seen by long-time locals Stuart and Cynthia Fowler. And you both have it clear in your mind that it's the same boat that the police were looking for?
Absolutely.
It's the same boat that was in the paper the following night.
I then rang the police depot, the 0800 number that they had out in Wellington, and gave them a full description. Some months later they rang back, wasn't it, Stu?
It was, yeah.
One Saturday morning they rang and they spoke to Stu, and we were virtually told what we had seen did not exist.
My search into the existence of a mystery ketch has meant travelling from one end of New Zealand to the other and across the Tasman. Now retired here to the Gold Coast of Australia, a former Masterton couple videoed a ketch on Cook Strait just days after Ben Smart and Olivia Hope went missing. They gave that tape to the police. The couple had been on holiday near Cape Palliser on January 3rd, 1998, 3 days after Ben Smart and Olivia Hope's disappearance. They were looking out to Cook Strait towards Seddon at the top end of the South Island. The boat was a long way away, but they believe they knew what they saw.
He said, "Oh, it's a ketch."
No doubt about that at all.
No, no doubting at all. I then also had a look at it through the binoculars, and I could see it clearer than I could see it with my naked eye. And I said to Frank, "Well, video it and see how it videos." We were just having fun, and we knew it had a good zoom, and we just wanted to see how far it could zoom.
Can you describe to me what you saw?
It had 2 masts. I believe, thinking now again, that it was white, that it had a blue band just round the top.
At the time, the camera was a Christmas present. Neither of them realised the possible significance of what they'd filmed that day with their new video camera.
When we got home and heard the news about the 2 young people missing, we discussed it, and because we understood that the young people had been taken to by a water taxi to a ketch, we decided that we should contact our local Masterton police and offer what we'd videoed to them.
The Osbornes say police didn't make a copy of the tape, and because of their lack of interest, the Osbornes ended up taping over their copy, which showed a ketch, and the footage was lost forever. And a former member of the Auckland Police believes the lack of interest was probably widespread. Jean Willoughby says she phoned Auckland Central in January 1998 to say that she'd seen a ketch in Manukau Harbour.
It was twin-masted, it had portholes along the side, and it was blue and white, blue stripe with the white, remainder white. And all the riggings were all hanging all over the place.
Well, Jean, I have a sketch here of a ketch. Is this similar to what you saw? Or is that the one?
Yes, it is. I'm not sure how many portholes there were. I know there were at least 4 portholes.
Jean says a few weeks ago the former head of the inquiry, Rob Pope, returned her phone call, but she says the conversation went nowhere.
He said that the boat didn't exist. And then it did exist, but he said there was about 1,000 boats involved, and I said, well, this boat was a unique-looking boat. There wouldn't have been 1,000 of them floating around.
And just recently, Jean Willoughby got another call from former inquiry head Rob Pope. This time he said they'd claimed she'd seen a fishing ketch called the Gale. I obtained a photo of the Gale and put it to Jean. Jean, is it possible that you saw the Gale and not the drawing of a ketch?
No. There's no portholes on this boat. It was the portholes that I noticed specifically.
Are you 100% sure of that?
I am.
Jean Willoughby wasn't the only Aucklander to see a ketch. Barry and Maria Belcher also phoned Auckland police about a ketch they'd seen in Manukau Harbour early January 1998.
The message came through to me that I was wasting my time. They more or less hung up on me.
Did they ask you for a description?
No, nothing at all. Just fobbed off.
He was feeling quite deflated, and he said, I wish I hadn't rung.
It's these kind of stories which give Warwick Jennis hope. He, along with a group of other experienced recreational yachties, have put together 2 separate reports which they claim confirm there was a ketch.
We were able to confirm the arrival date of the ketch into New Zealand waters, we believe, which was the middle of December at New Plymouth, where it spent a week. They stayed there approximately 7 days and then went down to Nelson, where the vessel was berthed at the Fisherman's Pens up until just before New Year's Eve. And witnesses there described the ketch very accurately.
Warwick Jennis believes he's got it right and says police were wrong focusing on Scott Watson. Last December, Warwick Jennis sent his 2 reports to the Police Commissioner.
We still, by the end of February, had heard nothing. We finally sent a letter by the Prime Minister's office, and within 2 days received a letter back from Rob Pope stating that they had spent considerable time studying the report but could find nothing new in the report that they did not know at the time of the trial.
Well, before we leave the Watson case tonight, we received a statement today from the head of police inquiry, Rob Pope, who was referred to in the story. He was talking about last night's story. Superintendent Pope said no apology was ever made to the Smart family, as none was required. He also said brown hairs located on Watson's boat were subject to scientific examination and eliminated as having come or not come from Ben Smart. He said the forensic work was never constrained by a lack of money. Well, today we have received a lot of feedback, a lot of phone calls and emails from viewers around the country claiming they also saw a ketch similar to the one drawn by police in January 98. Don't forget though, after a marathon investigation, Scott Watson sat through a 13-week trial. The jury heard all the evidence and found him guilty of murder. New revelations about the police investigation into the disappearance of Ben Smart and Olivia Hope. Did police ignore a potentially valuable clue? Hello, I'm Susan Wood. Welcome to Close Up. It is the case that won't go away tonight. New information that could be linked to the disappearance of Ben Smart and Olivia Hope. Now, this isn't evidence which points to a miscarriage of justice or in any way negates the case against Scott Watson, the man convicted of murdering the young Marlborough pair 7 years ago. It does, though, call into question just how police dealt with potential witnesses in the aftermath of their disappearance. Tonight, a Wellington couple maintains they saw the 2 young people on the back of a runabout a few days after Ben and Olivia disappeared. They told police, but say police were not interested. Brent Fraser from TVNZ's investigative unit with the story.
It's been 7 years since John and Karen Footer were last at Tennyson Inlet, but they are still certain of what they saw that day, January 5, 1998.
We saw coming out of this bay here a small runabout which we'd previously seen about an hour earlier with 5 people on it, and there was only 3 people on the boat as it came out.
The boat they saw was just like this one, a Marlborough runabout, not uncommon in the Sounds.
The boat came past us then with 5 people on board, 2 down the back who didn't look particularly happy. We do what all boaties do, we waved, and there was 0 response, even though they were looking at us.
How would you describe them?
Sort of shabby casual would be the ones up the front.
And the 2 people at the back?
1 male, 1 female. Young, late teens, very early 20s. They did not have the look of enjoyment on their faces.
The footers say the pair appeared to have their hands forced behind their backs. What, as if their hands were tied behind their back?
As if, yes.
Karen Footer also remembers the hair of the young woman.
Definitely with the hair colour. Definitely. Because, I mean, I've got long hair as well, and just the way it waves in the wind is definitely blonde.
Could those two people have been Ben and Olivia?
It's a possibility.
3/4 of an hour later, the footers say they saw the runabout again, this time coming out of an uninhabited bay, minus the young couple they'd earlier seen at the back of the runabout.
In fact, Karen pointed it out to me and pointed to the same boat coming back out of the bay with the same 3 characters up the front, but the rest of the boat was empty. I was getting uneasy about the fact that there's 2 uncomfortable people were on a boat, then they're not on a boat, coming out of a totally deserted bay.
Tawa Bay. It's remote, it's just off Tennyson Inlet. There's nothing here except for a dock toilet, not even a walking track. The bush grows all the way from the hills right down here to the foreshore. So why would 2 young people dressed in summer clothing be dropped off here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and left? What were the conditions like 4 o'clock that day?
4 o'clock that day, overcast, threatening rain, good cumulonimbus in the background, and a reasonable breeze of 10-15 knots.
And choppy.
And choppy water.
Not the conditions you'd want to be dropped off here in summer clothing?
Not with the prospect of rain, no.
At the time, the footers were aware that Ben and Olivia were missing. On the day the footers saw the runabout, they'd also phoned the police to tell them of a ketch they'd spotted, which looked like the one detectives wanted. But it took 2 months before the couple was interviewed. It's an interview which still leaves a bad taste with John Footer.
In fact, they more or less called me a liar about my call to the police on the 5th of January, and it wasn't until we could show them our cellular account with the star 555 call on it that they changed their mind.
Did they apologise?
They didn't apologise for anything.
John Footer says police discounted their sightings because of where they were.
They were not interested because it was too far away outside the scope of their inquiry. I pointed out to them that it was only a matter of about 5 hours from Furnau.
And it was 5 days.
And it was 5 days later, yes, so there was plenty of time for boats to go all over the place within the Sounds network. So, you know,
is it feasible to say you could row a boat here in 5 days from Furnau Lodge?
I would think so, yes.
7 years on, John and Karen Footer are angry that police ignored their information. What they saw, they now want to put to bed.
There's a horrible suspicion in the back of my mind that something untoward may have happened to those 2 people on that boat.
Well, the head of the inquiry, Rob Hope, told Brent Fraser he hasn't talked to the 2 officers who interviewed the footers and he's not relitigating issues through the media. But if the couple make a formal request to police, he says he will look at it. Mr Pope also says the footers' signed police statement never included information about a runabout or who was in it. He says he would have expected information as critical as that to have been included. Well, today the footers signed a sworn affidavit standing by their claims that the officers who interviewed them were only interested in Ketch sightings and not in anything else.